the Responsa, the death of Tall Aslan. This is Aleppo,
Yes.
Turkey, in 1681, and this deals with something you mentioned before: a wife, a woman who his husband has disappeared or can't be found and is now in a guna. What was that stance towards that particular issue, and what else comes out from that particular response?
Okay. So the Tal Aslan case is one of my favorite ones. It's part of a sort of a subgenre, which meaning no disrespect whatsoever, but I refer to it as the dead husband cases, right? These are the Agunot cases, the straw widows who, grass widows, right? That's the term, right? Agunot, who they need a confirmation, and there's of course in halacha there are very specific requirements about who can bear witness and what kind of testimony can be accepted to prove that a person has died, in order that right, a man has died in order that his widow can go and remarry. So those are some of the most interesting cases because you have people stepping up to testify. And this is one of those cases, right? This Tal Aslan was a merchant, and he was traveling somewhere far, far from home in the Mediterranean region. He was with one or two other merchants, and they were essentially drowned in the sea or in the river. And so a bunch of people come forward to testify about what they saw. And this is one of those cases where the testimony takes a little bit to get to the point of the story, and they tell about the travels and where they spent Shabbat and what happened. And I believe this is the case where somebody says, "Oh, Tal Aslan, he was a really great Jew." Other Jews, right? They go to the shuk and they buy their meat from whoever, and we come and cook it all together and we eat together. But this Tal Aslan, he was very careful and he wouldn't buy, non-kosher meat and so on. Wow, there's some information about what their life was like that maybe I wasn't expecting. So bits like that just come out, and the circumstances of his death and so on.
And this testimony is from Jews and non-Jews that the
So
court is listening to.
the court does not normally speak to a non-Jewish person at court, or at least we don't have records of that. Usually, what you have is a Jew who has spoken to a non-Jewish person who gives testimony, what's called Messiah Lefitumo, which is the Jew does not prompt the person to say what they saw or what they experienced. That person brings it up, him or herself, and talks about what they saw, and that can be acceptable, even though it's secondhand and coming from this other person. The Beit Din can sometimes accept it. And I will say that the Bate Din, unfortunately, right, in the pre-modern period, people died in all kinds of circumstances. Jews tended to be very footloose. Many of them were not big international merchants, but people who carried a box or a bag or whatever, and traveled in caravans. And unfortunately, it was dangerous all the time. And Jews, there were a number of cases in the book and in the Chuvot all over the place of Jews who died this place or that place. And so these Agunot cases are all over. And the rabbis couldn't have, these huge numbers of women sitting around, not remarried, because they're being so makpid, so careful about which testimony we accept. They tend to be quite, I don't want to say liberal, that's not the word, but they are open to any kind of testimony which can possibly fit the parameters of the halacha and free up a grass widow so she can remarry. And so you see in the testimony all kinds of reports, secondhand reports, some of them, again, from a sort of folkloristic point of view, or autobiographical point of view, very fascinating and very revealing about Jewish-Muslim relations, sometimes Jewish-Christian relations, all in the service of getting to the story about how the person that's under question died and who witnessed it, and did somebody see the body after they drowned, and so on, which is what you have in this Tal Aslan case.